is the relationship with my list has to come first. If I'm not building that relationship every day, their email. Now, I sell every day. Don't get me wrong. Every email I send out has a sales pitch in it, but not at the expense of building the relationship with my list. It's everything. And so if you want to go into lead nurturing, that there is, in my experience, there is just no better way to do it than to just take that relationship with your audience list, whatever you want to call it, comes first. As long as you're doing right by them, you're doing the right thing.
So you're a smart business committed to innovation, to service and to modern marketing, and you're asking, what's next? Wondering how you can become even more innovative. My name is Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and this is the InnovaBuzz podcast, where we share all kinds of tips, advice and interview guests on all things innovation and leadership in modern marketing. Hi innovators, it's great to be here again on another Model the Master's signature episode of the InnovaBuzz podcast. I hope you've had an awesome week so far. In our Model the Master's signature series, we interview masters of a particular stage of the transformational marketing journey, and the purpose of that is to enable us to model from what they do. Now, I want to help us all create excellence in marketing and elevate our marketing beyond the noise of what's ordinary out there by learning from masters of their craft. It's a great privilege to have as my guest today to explore the topic of lead nurturing, Ben Settle. Ben is known as the master of the one email workday. Over the past 16 years, he's written lots of ads, he's created email campaigns, he's developed marketing strategies for clients, all of which collectively have earned tens of millions of dollars in sales. So he really is a master of that craft. His monthly print newsletter, The Email Players, is read by hundreds of people in over 30 countries. In today's episode, Ben told us about his values, how he places relationship building above all else, and also the importance of being in your customer's world and having vision-driven decisions or making vision-driven decisions. He talks about his beliefs, taking responsibility. So if people get mad, it's his fault or it's my fault. If people get mad at me, it's my fault. Consistency, particularly in doing the right things. And he talked about his strategy of focusing around giving people options for thinking differently and having his emails entertain, educate, and elevate. Without further ado, then let's fly into the hive and get the buzz from today's master, Ben Settle. Hi, I'm your host Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz. Welcome to another Model the Masters episode of the InnovaBuzz podcast. In today's episode, I'm excited to welcome from Eugene, Oregon, I think that's the right pronunciation, in the USA, Ben Settle, who's the founder he's the founder of his own organization, bensettle.com. He's a master copywriter and an email specialist, and also host of the bensettle.com podcast. So welcome to this episode of Model the Masters. Ben, it's a great privilege to have you on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm not in Eugene, though. Is that the city you named?
Yeah, that was what was on LinkedIn.
Oh, really? No, LinkedIn. Screw LinkedIn. I'm in a place called Bandon. I'm like 3 hours from Eugene. That's why.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So maybe it said near. But Oregon, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Nice place of the world. So now Kim Doyle, our featured master on episode 122, nominated you as a master of lead nurturing, and that's what I'd like to explore with you today. So in the meantime, a big hello to Kim. And before we get on to lead nurturing and exploring how you go about that, give us a bit of a snapshot about your business. What do you do and why do you do it?
Well, I suppose the easiest way I could do this, personally, okay, so I don't like crowds of people, and I like persons. I don't like people. Right? So I just don't like a lot of, that's why I'm in a small dinky town, all that. And I don't like parties, and I don't like that kind of stuff. But once in a while, I'll get wrangled into a party or like some kind of social thing that I kind of got to go to. And invariably somebody will come up and ask, what do you do? Right. Because that's what people,
That's kind of the,
that's the drill. Right. So I'll always just say this. I'm like a bum who gets paid. And they'll look at me and they'll go, what? And I'll say, well, what I do is I wake up in the morning. I take my dog for a walk. Or not, well, I just take her out, actually. Bring her back in. I write an email. And then I'm pretty much done for the day. That's basic. Now, I do other stuff because I want to. But that is the only business day I have to do. And it's because I've set up my business where it's like one email a day. And I'm pretty much done. And that, in a nutshell, is what I do.
That's fascinating. So, obviously there's a lesson there about lead nurturing. So where does the revenue come from then?
Well, I have an offer that I sell every day via email. And those buyers I sell other stuff to, which is about as basic stripped down of a direct response marketing business as someone can have. But it affords me a lot of time and brings in more than enough money than I'll ever need, and works pretty well. And that's the thing. So yeah, I mean, you talk about lead nurturing. This is 100% what it is. That's the whole thing for daily email, is you are nurturing leads constantly.
Yeah. And what kind of things do you sell then? So I know that there's some training programs and copywriting training programs that you have that people can subscribe to and that you sell on your daily emails. Is that the extent of it?
My primary product is a monthly print newsletter called Email Players, where I teach email copywriting, email marketing, and that sort of thing. And then I sell to those buyers, I sell related stuff like copywriting training and, whatever I can find that's related. I do joint ventures with people. I also partner in a golf company, but we have to relaunch that. So I don't have much I can report on that right now. But mostly my main thing is my newsletter.
Yeah. Okay. And that's a monthly newsletter that's printed, I believe.
Yes. Which, some people think is a disconnect, right? Because it teaches email, but it works for me.
Yeah. Well, it certainly has you standing out. All right. Well, we've touched on lead nurturing, and obviously the daily email is a classic method of lead nurturing. So I'm interested in what values are important to you around lead nurturing. What are the top values that you have around that?
Well, okay, so this would go for any medium, in my opinion, any kind of media you use, whether it's email or podcasting, or people like to use social media and all that, whatever it is. To me, the first and most important thing, it comes before everyone else. It comes before everything else. It even comes before selling, in my opinion, is the relationship with my list has to come first. If I'm not building that relationship every day through email, now I sell every day, don't get me wrong. Every email I send out has a sales pitch in it, but not at the expense of building the relationship with my list. It's everything. And so if you want to go into lead nurturing, that there is, in my experience, there is just no better way to do it than to just take that relationship with your audience list, whatever you want to call it, comes first. As long as you're doing right by them, you're doing the right thing. You know what it goes back to? There's this guy, in fact, I got one of his cassette things, or that cassette CD thing in front of me, a guy named Jim Camp. Now, he died a couple years ago. He was the world's most feared negotiator. That was kind of like the title that he was given. And something he said many years ago has always stuck with me, and it basically directs everything I do when it comes to nurturing a lead, selling a lead, even generating leads. And that is, as long as you're in the adversary, now the adversary isn't like, it's not an antagonistic thing, it's just like the other person. As long as you're in, we'll just say, your customer's world, you're safe. You are safe as long as you're in their world, talking about what's important to them and not yourself, unless it happens to be the same thing. You're safe. If you don't do that, you're not safe. You're actually very in danger of being ignored. You're in danger of being deleted. Depending on what the media is, you're in danger of people turning off your show, whatever it is, throwing out your ad, whatever. As long as you're in their world, you cannot bore somebody if you're in their world. You just can't. There's nothing. Put it this way, and I'll use I'll use a couple examples. I'll use an extreme example, and then I'll use kind of like a down-to-earth example. Okay, so let's say you know somebody and I think everyone knows someone or has known someone in this position, unfortunately. They have a specific kind of, let's say, cancer. Like my dad, he had multiple myeloma cancer. It's like a cancer of the blood. I guarantee you when he was going through that, and even to this day, he's been in remission for a very long time, but even today, okay, you cannot talk about multiple myeloma and not have his 100% undivided attention. You could send him any email you want on that topic. It's going to get read, right? Now, that's an extreme example, okay, because that's someone's life at stake. But let's take my dad again. I'll just keep picking on my dad. He's got like literally 40 molehills in his yard. I don't know why the moles in this town picked his yard to live in, but he's got literally, I've counted them. There's over 40 molehills in his yard. It's frustrating to him. He's tried everything. He's tried like traps. He's tried like these sonic things that are supposed to drive him away and, you know, different kinds of baits and all this stuff. Nothing gets rid of these things. I guarantee you. There's nothing you could talk to him about with moles where it's not in his world and not 100% interesting to him. And that's my whole point. If you're going to nurture somebody, you got to be in their world and talk about what's interesting to them all the time.
Yeah, that's a fabulous point and great examples too. Of course, that comes back to understanding who your audience is and what is important to them, what's going on in their world.
Absolutely. So I've done a lot of work in the weight loss niche. I'll give you an example of this. Now, if you get on any weight loss list, on most weight loss lists, what you're going to get is our product will do X, Y, Z. Don't you want our product? You lose 18 pounds in 1 hour, whatever their claims are, right? No craving, no food cravings, no loss of energy, whatever it is their claim. It's all you get. Okay. It's just all about their product. They don't care about your product. And to take a very old school adage, which I think everyone should follow, to like even write it down until it becomes ingrained in someone's mind. Don't tell me about your weed killer. Tell me about my crabgrass. You talk to someone with weeds in their yard, dandelions is driving them nuts. They don't want to hear about your stupid weed killer, but you can talk to them all day long about dandelions. And then when you've got that vision in their mind and they trust you and they believe you that you're someone that's worth listening to, then you can tell them about your product. And most people do it the exact opposite. And that's why they're not nurturing leads, they're repelling leads. But nurturing leads is simply being in their world, talking about the crabgrass and not the weed killer.
Yeah, great point. I love your examples too. So what else is important in terms of lead generation and the values that you bring to that? Sorry, lead nurturing.
Well, here's another thing, and I'm just going to take this from an email perspective, but I think this applies to everybody. Not being selfish. And this may sound very strange. This may horrify some people listening to this. I don't know. I don't know your audience is that well, so I don't know, okay? But I mean, the typical business person these days is very gun shy. You know, they're very scared of selling. They're very scared of pitching. They don't want to look like a quote salesperson, you know, all that, which is really not a problem the lead has. It's a problem. That's the problem the marketer has. But here's the problem. Here's what I mean by being selfish. In my opinion, and this happens to be a fact, and that's my opinion. I say that. If you have a solution to someone's problem, and you don't tell them about it every day, and at least let them know it exists. I'm not saying you got to ram it down their throat. I'm not saying you got to be blatant about it. You still want to be in their world, but you don't at least let them know about it. That is incredibly selfish on the marketer's part. And I'll give you an example of this to make it a little more clear. I don't know if you've ever had a urinary tract infection. Have you ever had a urinary tract infection?
No, thankfully not.
Me neither, by the way. Thankfully not. I say that too. But I have known people who have had urinary tract infections. And if you ever seen the movie The Green Mile with Tom Hanks, it does not look.
No.
But it takes the magic guy in the jail, you know, to like get rid of it, right? Because it's like you can't just get rid of a urinary tract. Someone has to have like superpowers to get rid of it. So it's like peeing razor blades, okay? It's very painful. And let's imagine you have that problem, and you're in miserable pain. You're afraid to drink water, right? Like you're dehydrated every day. You just, oh God, you're miserable. So you go to the drugstore, and you have your prescription and all that, and you hand them this prescription. He goes, and the pharmacist goes, because he doesn't look like a salesperson, oh, no. This is just a goodwill day today. we don't sell anything on Fridays. We only educate you about the problem. Okay. And they refuse to give you the solution to that problem. And they just give you some pamphlets or something while you suffer. That is essentially what most people do online. They are like the pharmacist who selfishly doesn't sell because they of their own hangups, and they project that onto the customer. And that to me is a very important aspect of this.
That's a very graphic example, but basically it comes back to if you have a solution to somebody's problem, and the worse that problem is, I guess the more you have a duty to sell your solution.
Well, not only that, but you said something very interesting there. You said the worse the problem is, which is obviously true. I mean, I'm taking very extreme examples.
Yeah.
I mean, we can both, obviously, but that's how I got the point of it. But let's say it's not an extreme example, right? Okay, well, that is where we'll go back to Jim Camp, the world's most feared negotiator, and he would say, "This is," and I love Jim Camp. I mean, I'll just quote him all day long. I don't care, but he's all about vision drives decision. So you got to build the vision of the problem before they can really take action on anything, or they won't until they have like some kind of emotional connection. So I'll give you an example from the weight loss. And by the way, I had before he died, I had a chance to talk to him on an interview once. I was brought in just kind of as like a co-interviewer, just because the people giving the interview knew I liked him so much. And so I got to ask him about this. But when I was in the weight loss niche, I was writing daily emails, and our emails, just to let people know, I just saw this isn't like some fluke. I mean, we converted 40% of the list into buyers. So these emails are working. And if you look at most weight loss, we talked about the weight loss interviews. Oh, look, lose 8 pounds, lose a size or 2, whatever, tomorrow. And they never really like get in the person's world. They never really build a vision. So I would build visions, and we would get a lot of sales like that. And here's I'll give you an example of a vision. Now, this would make sales to people who were not necessarily that, maybe they're not that overweight. Maybe only like 5 pounds overweight or something, right? It doesn't really matter. And so I took this one email, and this was one of my best emails in that niche. In fact, I let someone, when I got out of weight loss, I let a friend of mine use it, and he made a whole bunch of money with it. So I know it didn't just work for me. So instead of talking about lose 2 sizes tomorrow, blah, 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 I wrote an email with the subject line called Humiliating Fat Facebook Pics. And I told a true story about someone who was trying to lose weight. She was trying to lose weight. She was eating right. She was exercising her butt off. I mean, just doing everything right that she could do. And she's just doing her best. She's trying. But what was happening was her friends, her so-called friends, I'll say, on Facebook were purposely tagging her heavy pictures to kind of try to this is what people do. Whenever you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket and one tries to crawl out, they all try to pull it back in. And that's what they were doing to her. They were like maliciously, maybe not consciously, but it was very malicious and passive aggressive, tagging her heavy pictures to make her feel bad while she's trying to do right. And I simply told that story, which built a vision. And there were a lot of people that said, now that I think about it, my friends do the same thing, right? And suddenly there was a problem they didn't even know they had, right? And now they're really motivated, and so they buy the ebook and hopefully do something with it. And so, yeah, if it's not like super burning problem, you can make it that way by telling stories of people who have the problem and taking it into weird angles like that could affect their lives. Here's another example. Many years ago, I got my first merchant account. This was like almost 10 years ago. And I have a friend, his name's Doberman Dan Gallipu, who's been in direct response marketing forever. And he used to sell supplements. He had his own supplement company. Now I can tell you the merchant accounts, they're very iffy on supplement companies. And he was telling me, he goes, Ben, it's good you got a merchant account, but you need to get a backup. And you need to get a backup of your backup. And then eventually get a backup of your backup of your backup. And I said, why? He goes, because for 16 years, I sold supplements. And I had the same merchant account. I had very few chargebacks. I had a houndstooth clean record. I'm like a model citizen for a banker. Like I'm the safest bet they can have. And then one day he wakes up to all these failed orders, tons of, and he's like, what the heck's going on? And he finds out that his merchant account, someone underwriter or someone at the risk department decided he was too high risk for whatever reason, shut him down without even telling him. Luckily, he had a backup merchant account. So it was no big deal. He just used that one. And then a week later, he said they shut him down for the same reason. And again, he did nothing wrong here. There's nothing he could have done to prevent this. And then luckily, he said, I had a backup of my backup. I turned that on and I was able to get things straight because I'm telling you, if you rely on one merchant account or even two, you're in danger of losing it. For him, it was $1 million business. It could have been wiped out overnight. Now, very few people wake up worried about that kind of stuff. But by me telling that story, there are people listening to this now thinking, I guess I better get a backup merchant account, right? and so it is.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point. So highlighting problems from personal experience, I guess, that other people may not recognize as problems yet. And
or somebody else's, it could be someone else's problem that you don't even have, right? So yeah, any kind of story will do the trick.
Yeah, but by highlighting that, you're essentially alerting people to a risk that they might be facing, that if they take action before they end up in a situation like your friend with the merchant accounts, then you've done them a service. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, what if he'd been selfish and not told me that story, right? And believe me, because I've had, everyone, the longer you're in this business, the more sales you get, the more chance that's going to happen, regardless if you do everything right. It's just there's some things out of your control. And it would have been very selfish of him not to tell me. And it would have been selfish of me not to write an email about it. And I did. I've written about it many times. It'd be very selfish of me to keep that information myself and not sell someone a solution to that, which I've done. So that's another point that I wanted to make.
Yeah. All right. That's terrific. So what other values are important to you around lead nurturing?
I think a very important thing is daily communication. Daily. I know everyone fights me on this. There's a lot of psychological resistance to this. People's lazy muscles kick in or something. I don't know. But daily communication. Now, I'm biased to email. Okay, so I'm going to, I admit it. But daily communication in whatever it is you do. Now, there are people who just use social media. Fine, daily communication with that. There's so many upsides to that and no downsides whatsoever. And, one of the upsides, one of the things is that people are notorious procrastinators. You want to nurture leads, don't give them an excuse to procrastinate by only talking to them once a week. Talk to them every day. And what happens, it's a weird thing that happens, is there's a difference between experts and leaders in someone's mind. And no one thinks this consciously, by the way. But think of it this way. Almost anybody can become an expert right now or position themselves as an expert. I mean, literally, I have books that are only 15 pages long on Amazon. Any one of those things, hey, look at my book. I'm an expert, right? But being a leader is a whole different thing. People buy from leaders sight unseen. They buy from leaders just because that leader recommended something they know, like, and trust that leader. By daily communication, I would say email is the best for this. You become the leader in their mind. In fact, the people who are not contacting them every day now look like they're kind of below you because you're the one there every day. And people are thinking subconsciously, not really consciously, but it is on their somewhere. You are telling me you know all this stuff and that I should trust you, but you don't have something to say on this topic every day. Like, you're supposed to be this expert, but you don't have something to say every day. This other person does. I'm going to buy from that person. So daily communication, if you're going to nurture leads, it's by far the best way to do it.
I'm fascinated because I don't do daily emails, so I'll put my hand up and say I'm a procrastinator on that. Recently, so we do a weekly email newsletter, and then occasionally we'll do a second weekly communication. That's fairly substantial. So recently we were promoting a couple of things and ended up sending out about 4 or 5 emails in 1 week. So essentially it was a daily email for a week. And I had quite a number of people come back and say, why are you cluttering up my inbox? Which I guess to me said they didn't see value in what I was sending out. But in some ways, I'm frustrated because I've got a full email inbox, and I kind of set myself a target to unsubscribe from at least 5 things every day when I go in there. But how do you find getting to the point of people accept that your daily email is important or is valuable and that they actually read it? How do you get over that hump?
Well, okay. So the reason that happened is because you trained them to be that way. So I have this, yeah, I'm not the only one who's like this, but I have this philosophy. It's always my fault. Whatever happens, bad or good, I'll take credit for the good stuff too.
Yeah.
But anything bad that happens, like a bunch of people get mad at me, that's my fault. I can guarantee you this. The only reason those are not probably buyers who are complaining, and they're probably freebie seekers, because I'm guessing you give them a lot of good free information, which is pretty typical. I mean, that's not like a bad thing. But if you don't ask for a sale regularly, it becomes like, they're like, whoa, what is this? It's very interesting. There's this is one of the most interesting things. I mail not only daily, but when I launch a product or if I do an affiliate promotion, I'll send as many as 2 to 3 emails a day and then like 7 on the last day, right? Which horrifies people. Like, oh my God, how can you do that? Well, first of all, every email is in their world, right? It's inherently interesting to them. It's talking about their product. It's not talking about my product. It's not even just giving hard information. It's entertaining them to a degree. It's hopefully making them think differently. There's 3 E's I like to call, that I'll tell you in a second, that I try to do in every email. And as long as you're interesting, they're not going to do that. Now, if you train them like that, that means that's a bottleneck that you can easily fix by simply sending an email out saying, look, I have so much stuff to share with my list, really good quality stuff, that I'm going to start sending a daily email. If this is a problem, simply, log down to the bottom, scroll down to the bottom, and just remove yourself. No big deal, no harm done, and let people go these are the lukewarm people who are leaving. You're not losing buyers, I guarantee it. Those left over will be around. They understand what's going on, and you start mailing them daily. But even better than that, at the opt-in, you tell them, look, I send daily promotional emails. If you go to my opt-in page, bensettle.com, you will see that underneath the opt-in box, you have to check a box saying, I acknowledge I'm going to get daily promotional emails from Ben Settle. There's no way they're coming on my list and going to get mad at me for sending them daily emails, because they've acknowledged it, right? And so those are way higher quality leads than if I just try to get everyone. I don't want everyone. I want to get back to one thing I talked about. This is very important, because I think this will help you out. And that is this 3 E's thing. Now, there was this documentary series on Netflix a couple years ago. I don't think it's on there anymore. But they basically interviewed 30 movie directors who have had blockbuster movies, So there were a lot of them, like Spielberg was on there and George Lucas. Well, anyway, they also had Mel Gibson. Now, he's had 2 or 3 really high grossing movies. Like he had Braveheart, Apocalypto, and Passion of the Christ. Very high grossing movies. And so he was one of the people they interviewed. And he said a movie has to do 3 things. And this, I'm telling you, this applies directly to email. And if you do these 3 things or strive for these 3 things, you're not going to really get people yelling at you for sending a daily email. One is it has to entertain people. If you don't have an entertaining movie, obviously they're going to, why would they go, right?
Yeah.
You don't go to movies to be depressed. Well, same with emails. I mean, I'm not saying don't give value. I'm just saying don't hard teach stuff that they should be paying for. You want to make it a little entertaining, have a little fun with it. And just telling a story can be entertaining. It doesn't have to necessarily be funny. It could just, storytelling is natural entertainment. I've told you many stories and analogies in this interview already.
That's right. Yeah. And that's very entertaining.
Yeah, it's natural. And I'm not trying to make you laugh or it just is what it is. So that's the first thing an email should do. The second thing is it should educate. That's the second E. And educating them could be educating them about a problem. Like my friend Dorman Dan educating me about what happened with his merchant accounts. That's very valuable information. He's not telling me a how-to thing, but he sure is giving me really good information. When I wrote an email about people being tagged in their heavy pictures being tagged, it's informational. They're like, holy crap, I didn't realize this, but my friends are doing it too, right? So it's informational. And the third thing is elevate. And you can't really control this too much, but you'll know it when it happens because you'll get a ton of feedback and sales. And that is where you literally elevate someone's thinking. Or as one of my favorite comedians, the late Patrice O'Neill said, give people options for thinking differently. Give them an option for thinking about a problem differently than they are. You do those 3 things and your emails are going to be, no one's leaving your emails. Okay. No one who's a good customer, there'll be people who leave. You'll get a lot of opt-outs, but you'll also get more sales. So, and the lukewarm people will turn hot or cold. I want my leads hot or cold. We're talking about lead nurturing. I want them hot or cold. I do not want them lukewarm. And I always use this example. because I don't know. Some people don't like this example, but it is what it is. And it's a biblical example from the book of Revelation. And don't worry, I'm not going to preach to anyone. I'm just saying it's in the chapter 3 of the book of Revelation. Jesus is talking to these 7 churches, and he's only happy with 2 of them, and he's very upset with 5 of them. And one of the ones he's upset with, he says, look, you guys do good works, blah, 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 but you're lukewarm. I want you hot or cold. In the Greek, it's vomit you out because you're lukewarm. And that, if you talk about list nurturing, that's how you nurture leads. You make them hot or cold. You make them ante up one way or the other. And if they're hot, they're going to buy, or they will buy eventually. If they're cold, they'll leave peacefully. They won't cause you any problems. But if they're lukewarm, those are the problem. Those are the ones complaining to you about getting too many emails and wasting your time. So that would be another very important thing about nurturing, actually.
Yeah. Great analogy as well. Yeah. So, and I think, you touched on something there that highlights that the hot leads are definitely, that's the most effective way of nurturing leads if you're talking to hot leads and not to lukewarm leads. And cold leads are the ones that unsubscribe anyway. So that if you're running any email list software, you pay for the number of subscribers. So the cold ones and lukewarm ones are just eating up your allocation there.
Oh, absolutely. That's another actual big benefit of that. Why waste money on people who are never going to buy, who probably aren't even opening your emails anyway?
Yeah.
Let them go.
Yeah.
Happily.
Yeah, that's right. So this has been really great. I mean, there's so much in this that around values and beliefs and strategy. You've shared the 3 E's with us. Are there any other things around strategy that is important in the way you do your daily email and your lead nurturing?
Well, another thing that's important that I don't see a lot of people talk about is having 100% outcome independence. In other words, zero neediness. Now, most marketers are incredibly needy. And have you ever smelled catfish bait?
No, but I've heard it described. I think you wrote about it in one of your recent emails.
I did. Absolutely. You could find a room with solid gold everything in it, right? Like solid gold tables, candlesticks, silverware could be perfect, diamonds, diamond chandelier, $1 million room. But if you were to smear catfish bait all over that room, nobody's going in there and no one's going to find it anything but repulsive. This is what neediness does to perfectly good products and perfectly good marketers with lots of credibility. As soon as they start doing needy things, those leads are turned off like it's catfish bait. And needy things can be something just as simple as telling your list, you need this. That's just projecting your neediness onto them. You got to have 100% outcome independence, meaning you want people to buy, but it's not going to affect you whether they buy or not. And it's a mindset that takes time, but you just got to understand that if you have something worth that's valuable, something your list needs, a solution to their problem, and this legitimate solution to their problem, which I'm assuming everyone listening to this has that, there is less supply of you than there are of people who need and really want what you have. So there should be an abundance mentality, but a lot of people have a scarcity mentality, which is why I don't care if people leave my list. Let them go. I'll get new leads. It's no big deal, right? Like that's the whole point of constantly building your list. And once you have that outcome independence, it just comes. You don't have to say it. You don't ever have to say, I don't need your sale. Or you don't have to. It'll just come through. Instead of asking people to buy, you'll give people the opportunity to buy. It's a whole different mindset. And it starts with just having that realization that there's more people who need you than you. You don't need a lot of people to have a nice business. You really don't even need probably 0.00001% of your market in the entire world to buy from you, and you could be doing 7 figures a year. So if you have that mindset, it's very easy to not really care, when you're writing an email or doing whatever. If you got to say something, say it. Like, don't be afraid of losing people. I'm not saying try to purposely get rid of people or insult anyone, but sometimes if you got to ask for the sale every day, that's again, not asking for the sale is not only selfish, but it's kind of needy to be scared. Oh, they're going to think I'm going to sell too much. You got to drop all that, let it all go. And I guarantee you things just change instantly and business becomes a lot more fun.
Yeah, Yeah, there's a lot of great advice in that. There's a lot I really like about that. And we all suffer from this from time to time, I guess, in that if someone says no, you take it personally. And, I was having a chat with a podcast guest last week, I think, and we were talking about exactly the same thing. But a no doesn't mean I don't like you. No, it's just, it's not for me right now. And
well, you could say something about this, actually. I want to bring up, kind of preach the word of Jim Camp here again. His whole book is called No. It's like he wants you to tell him no. It's the weirdest thing. It's like no is actually just the beginning of the negotiation. And you actually want to, it sounds very strange, but you actually want someone to tell you no. If they don't tell you no, they're probably not being very honest with you. So I'm not saying every case, but no is not a bad thing. In fact, I try to get people to tell me no. So for example, we'll talk about it like in a sales letter situation. I will literally say very early in a sales letter, look, before you read any further, just realize this product's extremely expensive and there's no guarantee with it. Now, they have right there evens the emotional playing field. That suddenly, now they may not have any interest at that point because they're a price shopper, but a serious lead will say, really? Okay, well, that's fair enough. Let me read the rest of this.
It must be good then.
And I'll give a more a more entertaining example. Okay, a couple of years ago, I was briefly dating this girl in town here, and we went to this bar. And there's a lot of golfers that hang at this particular bar because this is like a golfing town where I'm at. It's like one of the I think there's 2 of the top 10 courses in America are in this town, and so a lot of golfers come here. And we were watching this golfer. He was sitting next to these 2 girls at the bar, and he was striking out with them completely. Like you could tell he was boring them to tears. And the girl I was with, I said, you know what he should do? And she goes, what? I go, he should find something to argue with them about, something to disagree with them about. Not like in a mean way, like a malicious way, but just something to disagree. I don't care what it is. Like at the time, this was during the presidential election. And if I was him, I would have, and this is what I told her. I said, you know what? He should find out who they want to vote for. And it doesn't matter who they say. Let's say they say they're going to vote for Hillary. He should say, that Trump has a point. And then let the argument, and that argument, but let that suddenly it's a way of getting someone to say no. You're saying, look, I know that, that Trump, or let's say they were Trump supporters. Hillary had a point. And just and then suddenly you become far more interesting when you go for the no like that than if you're just trying to supplicate and agree with somebody on everything.
That's an interesting example. Yeah. All right. This has been really fascinating. I could go on for ages. You've obviously got a lot more stories, and the stories are really entertaining and educational. So you're definitely meeting 2 of those targets, and I'm sure they're elevating the audience. I certainly feel elevated around it. What I want to do now is move on to our exception round, which are 3 questions that we ask every guest on Model the Masters, and hopefully we'll get some really good answers that will inspire everyone to get better at nurturing their leads. So, and you probably answered them during the interview, but we'll kind of summarize a little bit. So what behavior do you do to be great at lead nurturing, something that's different behavior to everyone else?
Well, I'll say trying to get a no out of is pretty different than everyone else. When I write an email out, I'm not writing there thinking, I hope I don't offend anyone, or I hope everybody agrees with me. It's almost like, it's weird. Do you know who Russell Brunson is?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's a good guy and a very smart guy, very, very intelligent guy, and one of the best marketers on the planet, in my opinion. And many years ago, he was on my list, and he said, and then he joined my email players newsletter. And then a couple years after that, he went to a mastermind I was hosting with these 3 other guys. And we went, and so I had dinner with him that night. And he goes, Ben, I used to hate you. I'm like, it's like out of the blue. He's like, I couldn't stand you. I said, really? Tell me why. He goes, I don't know. There's just something about you I couldn't stand, but I kept reading your stuff. And suddenly the only reason I came to this mastermind was to meet you. And it wasn't because I was trying to get on his good side. It was just like I was giving him probably options for thinking differently because I had outcome independence when I mail my list. If I'd sat there and tried to say all the right things just to appease everyone, you won't get that reaction. And some of those types of people, the intellectually honest ones who don't like you or agree with you, sometimes become the longest customers you have and the best customers you have.
Great advice. All right. So what are your top 3 beliefs for excelling at lead nurturing?
The first is consistency. I have this saying that consistency trumps proficiency. So whatever it is that you're nurturing with, and obviously I'm an email guy, but it's apply to anything, that consistency is everything. Just being in there every day. It's like how Jerry Seinfeld said he made it. He said he had this big wall when he was just starting out and a struggling, starving comedian. And he said his goal was to write a joke per day. Doesn't have to be a good joke. Could be a terrible joke. But you write one joke per day no matter what. Doesn't matter if somebody died. He's writing a joke every day. And then he would put an X to that day in the calendar. And then he would do it again, one joke per day. And as long as he had an X and a chain of X's through his calendar, he knew he was going in the right direction. So that consistency is very, very powerful. And for anything, it doesn't just have to be for that. And then what was the question? Two other what?
The 3 top beliefs for excelling at lead nurturing.
Another thing is you have to respect you got to respect your leads. A lot of people sell the markets that they despise, or I don't understand it, but some people people will get into a business just because that's where, quote, the money is, but they hate their market. So, that's not good. You have to always come in. Like I said, the relationship is everything.
Yeah.
And you can't build a relationship with, you can't build a relationship with someone you don't like or you can't stand or don't respect, I should say. You don't have to like them, but if you don't respect them, you're never going to be building a good relationship. I don't think, at least. I don't know.
It would be a lot harder, I would expect.
I would think so. That relationship really is everything. I had a third one in mind, but now it's escaping me. I was talking too much. Sorry.
Right.
Probably come to me after the call.
All right. Well, we might pull something out of what you've said before. All right. Well, what's the key difference that makes the difference in your exceptional lead nurturing?
I think it just comes back to that consistency. I am more consistent. I have this, I wrote this email a while back saying, here's how to triple your sales. And I really believe that 24 ways to triple your sales. I even did a podcast about it, 2-part podcast. And it was just be more consistent than the other guy, i.e. your competition. Doesn't have to be a guy, it could be a girl, whoever. Be more consistent than them. Even if they're more talented than you, even if they have more resources than you, doesn't matter. You be more consistent than them. And there's a movie called Creed. Do you ever see the movie Creed? It's like...
No, I don't recall seeing that one.
Okay, well, you ever seen the Rocky movies?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like the latest Rocky movie. It's basically a spin-off about Apollo Creed's son, and Rocky's training him. It's a really good movie, actually. I highly recommend it just for the success principles embedded in it. And Apollo's son, Adonis Creed, is fighting the world heavyweight champion, who is way better than him, way faster, stronger, more reach. And Rocky keeps telling him the same thing. One step, one punch, one round at a time. One step, one punch, one round at a time. It's just that consistency, going in there, going after what you want every day, dogmatically and ruthlessly. Be more consistent than the other guy. You're going to win. Eventually, you're going to win.
Yeah, that's great advice. Really love that, the consistency. And it comes back to something you said earlier about the vision driving decision and possibly driving action as well. So there's the World Heavyweight Championship, to use that story, is the vision, and taking consistent action towards that rather than focusing on the win itself.
Well, this goes back to goal setting. I think it's a mistake to set like number goals, like say, I have to make 5 sales tomorrow. That's a good way to choke. That's how athletes choke, actually. It's like there are some people who thrive under that kind of pressure, but mostly you're better off just making the goal of getting up, doing what you have to do, and doing it better than you did the day before, and things you can control, basically. If you just focus on things you can control, doing the right things, the rest will take care of itself. Do the right things long enough consistently, and you can pretty much move mountains.
Yeah, focus on things you can control. Great advice. All right, well, thank you, Ben. This has been really great. I've really enjoyed this and learnt a lot and been elevated as well. Now, where can people reach out and thank you for what you've shared with us?
Well, you can go to my site at bensettle.com, and if you opt in and give me your email address, I will send you daily promotional emails. I will also give you the first issue of my Email Players newsletter. It's a print newsletter, but I'll give you a digital PDF version of the first issue. This is Retails at $97 a month. That's a real retail value. I'll give it to you free. It has 24 ways in there to make more sales with your emails. And I've had people tell me they've made thousands and in some cases tens of thousands of dollars just with that free issue. So it's free if you go there. The site also has, 100 hours worth of audio training. It's free between my podcasts and like media interviews I've done. About 2,000 blog posts in there. So tons of stuff in there. And that's at bensettle.com.
All right. Well, thanks for that. We'll have a link to that in the show notes so that people can go check it out. And if you like, subscribe to the Email Players newsletter, or subscribe to the daily email first, and then the Email Player newsletter is the paid product that Ben will promote there. Now, the podcast also is great value. I've listened to several episodes over the last couple of months and I'm really enjoying that. So encourage people to listen to that as well. Now,
thank you.
Now, finally, who's someone you consider your model for lead nurturing, and can you introduce us?
Oh man, there's so many. The best lead nurturer, besides myself, of course. Right? I would say the great Matt Fury. And I've learned a lot about email from him, and he's really the one that drives home a lot of principles we talked about in this. And he's at mattfury.com. He's a great person to follow. He doesn't do as much email as he used to, but I can tell you he's one of the best in the world at it.
All right. Well, we might reach out to Matt and see if we can get him on a Model of Masters episode in the future.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's if you can get him, that's a gold card one there.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Ben. I really enjoyed this. Thanks for sharing your time and your insight so generously with us all on the Model of Masters episode today, and I wish you all the best for the future, and let's keep in touch. I'll be reading your daily emails as we go forward, and maybe you'll see a few from me.
All right. Thank you.
That was another fascinating and, dare I say it, entertaining, educating and elevating episode of this Model the Masters signature series. I hope you learned from Ben's values, beliefs and strategies. I certainly did. A summary of the values, beliefs and strategies that Ben shared with us can be found at modelthemasters.co/Ben Settle. That is BENSETTLE. All lowercase, all one word, modelthemasters.co/Ben Settle. You'll also find contact information for getting in touch with Ben there, and you can subscribe to his Email Players newsletter. Ben nominated Matt Fury, best-selling author and coach, as someone that he admires for lead nurturing. So we'll reach out to Matt and see if we can get him on a future Model the Masters episode and learn from his values, beliefs and strategies. Stay connected. Head on over to iTunes or Stitcher or Pocket Casts and subscribe to the InnovaBuzz podcast so you make sure you'll never miss another episode. We'd also love you to leave us a review, because what you think matters. Take some of the ideas you've heard today and apply them in your business. Any thoughts, ideas, suggestions or questions, share them in the comments below the blog post. And remember, if you want to get better marketing results than you ever have, join our fantastic LinkedIn community at the Transformational Marketing Academy. All you have to do is go to innovabiz.co/TMAC. It's free to join. Hope to see you there soon. Until next time, I'm Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBizz. Remember to be awesome and keep innovating.